Hey, I'm Jim Sear.
And I'm Jocelyn Youat.
And you are listening to the Avoiding Chores podcast,
where it's E.T. phone home time in 1982.
Oh, Jocelyn, that is correct, sir. We are doing a whole series of reminiscing back in the 80s. Go back the few episodes, folks, because we did the whole intro, and then we're up to 1982 in this episode. At first, we were like, I can't really remember too much, but then we're going down the list, and you know what? 82 was a huge year for both of us.
Well, listen, E.T. Was the big movie smash of the year, and ironically, I never saw it until I was well into my 30s.
I saw it when it came out. However, I went to see at the local theater, which had the French dubbed version. So I didn't see the original English version until a few years ago, actually.
Wow, yeah, it was such a big thing. I mean, it even now, I started by saying E.T. phone home. Even for people who weren't born in 82, they know that sentence is significant and comes from that movie. It's incredible how it became ingrained in our psyche.
And it kind of holds up. It's one of those odd Steven Spielberg movies. Same thing, same era as Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Good, but you're watching it now and it's like little. I don't know.
Well, it shows its age, of course. It's funny you mentioned Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Just behind where I live, there's a school. You've been here,
yeah. And
there, the bell from that school is actually the tone that was emitted by that spaceship in Close Encounters. Really? It's hilarious, and really? I guarantee you that not a single one of these kids knows what's going on.
No, probably not.
For sure.
They would probably know the top song of 1982, which was "I Love Rock and Roll" by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Oh wow, that was. You still hear that played all the time. On classic rock stations, or you're just wandering through a mall, and suddenly that song comes on.
Well, try to name any other Joan Jett song after that. You can't.
Nope. Forget it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
there was other big hits, during that time. Paul McCartney, Stevie Wonder, Ebony and Ivory. I think that was such a bad song, but it was big. And I think 82 was really the start of that, kind of electronic, sound that really became the characteristic of the 80s in general, and with a big song like "Don't You Want Me" by Human League.
Yeah, that's right. And that was they did this huge video production too. They did it on film and all that stuff. I mean, that was really a wave. And I think we started listening to this new podcast. Well, I started listening to it. I brought you on to it. It's called Hit Parade.
Yeah, it's a great podcast.
Chris Milani, he does chart analysis. He went through this 1980s Human League thing. He did a great backgrounder. Of course, I can't remember any of it. But Human League was definitely that band that really started that trend on the charts for what we're listening to in radio.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's another song, "Don't You Want Me," that you actually hear from time to time on the radio. So it has stood the test of time. A lot of people say that the 80s were a bad decade for music. I don't agree. I think as we see with a lot of things being influenced by the 80s today, I think it had a lot of staying power, and we're still talking about them and listening to some of that music all the time.
Oh, absolutely. I just wanted to get back to, you're talking about stuff that stood the same time or things that reoccurring. We just went through Halloween not too long ago here, and you're looking at the type of movies there, the horror movies or the little scary movies. A lot of it has to pull from Poltergeist, which was also released in 82.
Oh, wow, Poltergeist. Yeah, that was the decade. Obviously, you and I, and we did a podcast on this, and if you want to listen to this one, folks, you can go into the archives and listen to it. But we did a podcast on horror movies and the fact that the horror movies in general, it's kind of a teenager thing, and you then kind of go away from them when you become an adult. And we were both teenagers in the 80s, and all those horror movies, Nightmare on Elm Street and Poltergeist and Amityville Horror and those things that came out in the 80s. Yeah, that was our horror movie era.
Oh, and I think they're redoing Poltergeist too. I don't know. They're redoing everything nowadays, but
yeah, that's true.
But that is one movie that you don't see that often or see it replayed. Is Poltergeist? You don't see it that often.
Yeah, that's true.
Another classic one. I know, but movies is always a big chunk of these podcast episodes because you think about it, these movies have been around for a while. Another one was John Carpenter's The Thing with Kurt Russell.
Oh, really? The Thing. Jeez.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, TV programs are also a big thing. Magnum P.I. was big in 82, Hill Street Blues, Knight Rider.
Oh, yeah.
With Kit, the car.
Kit. In our household, it was Magnum on Thursday nights, and then it was Simon and Simon. And then on, I believe it was Tuesday nights, was Hill Street Blues on Tuesday nights.
Oh, wow. Isn't that crazy? So, yeah. One thing I remember, and this made the news big in 82, and I think we're still feeling the effects today, is that I think 7 people died in Chicago when they consumed some Tylenol capsules that were laced with cyanide.
That's right.
Yeah, and to this day, those darn pill bottles that we buy are hard to open because that's when they started sealing them.
Oh, and they're sealed tight. And I don't know if you notice when you buy a bottle of ketchup, they give you a little helper tab to try to pull. No, it's not. I know it's not the same as medicine, but it's the same concept. These vacuum sealed foil cap thingies, covers. They're
unbelievable.
Once you get past the cover, you got to get through this foil thing. It's crazy.
Unbelievable. It is absolutely horrendous to open and a source of constant frustration.
But since we're on that Tylenol scare there, we might as well segue into some celebrity deaths. John Belushi, heroin and cocaine overdose.
Oh, wow. The Blues Brothers.
That's right, yeah. Saw it once.
Yeah.
Just once.
But I mean, I was starting to really become aware of late night TV at the time, and obviously he was. I think he started on SCTV, right, in Canada.
Either very briefly or not long enough to notice.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe
but then he went. Well, he did go to Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
right?
That's where we all discovered.
But I think he started at Second City.
I think you're right.
Where everybody else did back in that day. So yeah.
Yeah.
Randy Rhoads, the guitarist for Ozzy Osbourne, he died in a plane crash.
Man, oh man, I was such a big fan of metal back then, and Ozzy Osbourne, Bark at the Moon, and Randy Rhoads was unbelievable. What a talent that was lost then.
And of course, we can't talk about music. I know we've been talking a little bit about music here on this episode, but Michael Jackson's Thriller debuted in 1982.
Yeah, and with MTV that had debuted the year before, that was just a revolution, and I remember people were waiting for the launch of that video, just waiting, glued to MTV, just waiting for it to come on.
Wow,
crazy, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, in more international things, or the Falklands War happened. I remember that. It was kind of the first war that broke out that I was really aware of with the UK and Argentina. That was kind of weird.
You know what? The other thing that was weird is buying videotapes of Jane Fonda doing workouts. and
hey, I mean, that was it was the start of technology, of technology that you could buy that was affordable. That was the start of it. I mean, the CD debuted that year.
Yeah. Well, and you think about, I'm making fun of the VCR tapes, but A lot of people made a lot of money doing all sorts of VCR tapes. They still do it now with DVDs. Now it's streaming subscription off websites, off your phones. There's, anybody can provide their goods or service on tape or on media, and people will buy it. I mean, that's kind of what I was trying to get around to, but it's just funny. Jane Fonda was really, think about it, the first one that really popularized that.
Yeah, no question. And, just that kind of entertainment, which leads me to another thing that launched in 82, which is the Weather Channel. Think about it. Back then, it was, people thought this was doomed. To talk about the weather 24 hours a day? That was just a foreign concept back then. We can't imagine now not having access to the Weather Channel.
Not only that, we can't have a conversation without talking about the weather.
Which we just did. Boom.
Now, either Weather Network or AccuWeather, they were in the news recently. I think they wanted to do something with the National Weather Service there. I can't remember, but they're still in the news. Yeah, no.
Hey, listen, in the world of iPhones and texting today, the smileys were first used in 1982, which we now called emoticons or emojis, but smileys were first used in an email back in 1982, and we still use them today.
Oh my lord!
Yeah.
You know what, John? Oh well, let's try to cap this off here. You talked about the Human League, "Don't You Want Me," some other big songs from 1982, "Survivor," "Eye of the Tiger."
Oh, wow. Yes, indeed.
John Cougar, Jack and Diane.
Ha. Was he John Cougar? Yeah, he was John Cougar
yeah,
still
yeah,
then,
Cougar,
eh?
yeah. Not
the Mellencamp hadn't appeared yet.
No. And Men at Work, Who Can It Be Now?
Ah, that was great. Yeah, from Down Under, right?
Oh, yeah. And Tony Basil, Mickey.
Oh, God, really? Yeah. Must we?
You know what? I'll just stop it there for now. I'll just stop it there. You know what, folks? If you enjoyed this podcast episode, make sure you leave a rating or review on Apple, on Stitcher, on Google Play. We're doing a whole series. Next episode is 1983. You can also follow us on social media. Just go on Facebook, search for Avoiding Chores, and you'll find the page here. Or you can go to the website, and this is where you find all the stuff, including the past episodes, on avoidingchores.com.